On June 24, 1947, a trained pilot flying over Mount Rainier witnessed 9 objects moving faster than anything humanity had ever built. And with those few minutes in the sky, the modern UFO era was born. Alright guys, before we jump into the whole Kenneth Arnold thing, I gotta tell you, I found this super interesting interview from June 25th, 1947. It's Kenneth Arnold in his own words, describing in detail what went down in the skies of Washington state. Trust me, you're gonna want to check this out. So stay tuned to the very end. I promise you'll find Kenneth Arnold's comments very interesting. On June 24th, 1947, private pilot and businessman Kenneth Arnold was flying his Call Air A-2 aircraft near Mount Rainier, Washington, on a routine search mission for a missing U.S. Marine Corps transport plane. Arnold was an experienced aviator with over 4,000 flight hours, known among his peers as cautious, practical, and reliable. Hardly someone prone to fantasy or exaggeration. At approximately 2:59 p.m., Arnold noticed a bright flash of light to the left of his aircraft. Initially believing it might be another plane in distress, he scanned the sky, and what he observed would become one of the most influential moments in modern UFO history. Arnold spotted something pretty wild. 9 shiny, disc-shaped things zooming through the sky. They were lined up in a formation, stretching all the way from Mount Rainier to Mount Adams. These things looked super metallic and super reflective, and honestly, they were nothing like any plane he's ever seen before. Just imagine that. He estimated their altitude at around 9,500 to 10,000 feet, roughly the same as his own aircraft. What immediately stood out to Arnold was not only their shape, but their extraordinary speed and erratic motion. Arnold famously described the objects as moving like a saucer would if you skipped it across water. Importantly, this description referred to their motion, not their shape. Yet this phrasing would soon be misunderstood and forever change the language surrounding unidentified flying objects. Arnold calculated the speed of the objects traveling between Mount Rainier and Mount Adams, a distance of about 50 miles, to be around 1,200 miles per hour. This speed exceeded that of any known aircraft in 1947. A time when the sound barrier had not yet been officially broken. Arnold observed the objects for roughly 2.5 minutes, during which he noted they seemed to weave in and out of each other, maintaining formation while maneuvering in a way that suggested intelligent control. After Arnold touched down in Yakima, Washington, he started chatting with his pilot buddies and then spilled the tea to some reporters. The dude was super chill about it, and his techie breakdown of what went down made everyone believe him right away. Pretty cool, huh? On June 25, 1947, newspapers across the United States picked up the story. A reporter misunderstood Arnold's skipping saucer analogy and coined the now legendary term, flying saucers. The phrase instantly captured the public imagination. Within days, hundreds of similar sightings were reported across the U.S. This sudden surge, now called the first modern UFO wave, suggested that Arnold's report may have encouraged others to come forward with experiences they had previously dismissed or kept silent. The U.S. Army Air Forces, which later became the U.S. Air Force, was paying attention. They didn't kick off an official investigation into Arnold's sighting right away, but it definitely sparked something big. In 1948, they kicked off Project Sign, which was the first real deal when it came to the U.S. military looking into UFOs. Arnold himself never claimed the objects were extraterrestrial craft with certainty. However, he consistently rejected explanations involving weather balloons, optical illusions, or conventional aircraft, stating plainly that nothing known to aviation at the time could behave as he observed. Over the following decades, Arnold remained steadfast in his account. He gave numerous interviews, wrote books, and worked with early UFO researchers such as Ray Palmer, editor of Fate magazine, helping shape early civilian UFO investigation. Arnold later revealed that military officials privately told him similar sightings had occurred before, but were not discussed publicly. This reinforced his belief that the phenomenon was real, ongoing, and underreported. Skeptical explanations have ranged from mirages to pelicans to experimental aircraft. However, none have adequately explained the speed, formation, reflective surfaces, and maneuverability Arnold described, especially given the technological limitations of 1947. So, this dude never really made any big bucks off his story, which is kinda wild. He was actually pretty frustrated that, instead of getting a serious look from scientists, his sighting got all blown out of proportion. He always said, even until he passed away in '84, that he saw some next-level tech that no one could explain. 2 weeks after Arnold's sighting, the Roswell incident took place in New Mexico, marking 1947 as a pivotal year in UFO history. Many researchers believe Arnold's encounter heightened public awareness as a larger phenomenon began to emerge. His sighting is basically seen as the starting point of the whole modern UFO craze. It's like that moment when people first started really noticing unidentified flying objects in the sky, and it totally changed how we think about it all. So, from that point on, UFOs were like a big deal everywhere. Within the UFO and disclosure community, Arnold's sighting is viewed as a foundational case, credible, well-documented, and supported by a trained observer. It is often cited alongside military encounters as evidence that the phenomenon predates Cold War aerospace advances. Many disclosure advocates argue that Arnold witnessed non-human technology conducting reconnaissance or transit operations, noting the consistency of his description with later UAP reports involving extreme speed, smooth acceleration, and formation intelligence. Over the decades, Arnold's case has been referenced in congressional hearings, declassified documents, and Pentagon UAP discussions as an early example of objects that outperform known human technology, a pattern that persists to this day. Here are some interesting and lesser-known fun facts about the Kenneth Arnold incident. Kenneth Arnold was initially searching for a crashed military plane, not looking for UFOs. He later investigated UFO sightings himself, becoming one of the first civilian UFO researchers. The CIA and Air Force later acknowledged that public interest in UFOs began with Kenneth Arnold. The term flying saucer was never Arnold's intended description. As we step back from the events of June 24, 1947, one truth remains undeniable. Kenneth Arnold witnessed something real. Not a rumor, not a legend born of hindsight, but a measured, observed, and carefully described encounter that defied the limits of known technology at the time. 9 objects, moving with intelligence, speed, and precision far beyond anything humanity possessed, marked the beginning of a pattern that has repeated itself for decades. From Mount Rainier to modern Pentagon disclosures, the same characteristics continue to surface, suggesting that whatever Arnold saw was not an isolated anomaly, but part of a much larger and ongoing mystery. Whether these objects represent advanced non-human technology, a presence quietly observing our world, or something even more profound, the evidence points toward a reality that challenges our understanding of the skies above us. Kenneth Arnold's sighting didn't just introduce the world to the idea of flying saucers. It opened a door that has never fully closed. So, as I promised at the beginning of the video, here is Kenneth Arnold, in his own words, describing his experience. Tell me what you think in the comments section.
Newscaster in every newspaper across the nation has made headlines out of it, and this afternoon we are honored indeed to have here in our studio this man, Kenneth Arnold, who we believe may be able to give us a first-hand account and give you the same on what happened. Kenneth, first of all, if you'll move up here to the microphone just a little closer, we'll ask you to just tell in your own fashion, as you told us last night in your hotel room and again this morning, what you were doing there and how this entire thing started. Go ahead, Kenneth.
Well, at about 2:15, I took off from Chehalis, Washington, en route to Yakima, and of course every time that any of us fly over the country near Mount Rainier, we spend an hour or two in search of the marine plane that's never been found that they believe is in the snow someplace southwest of that particular area. That area is located at its elevation is about 10,000 foot, and I had made one sweep in close to Mount Rainier and down one of the canyons and was dragging it for any types of objects that might prove to be the marine ship. And as I come out of the canyon there, it was about 15 minutes. I was approximately 25 to 28 miles from Mount Rainier. I climbed back up to 9,200 feet, and I noticed to the left of me a chain which looked to me like the tail of a Chinese kite, kind of weaving and going at a terrific speed across the face of Mount Rainier. I at first thought they were geese because it flew like geese, but it was going so fast that I immediately changed my mind and decided it was a bunch of new jet planes in formation. Well, as the planes come to the edge of Mount Rainier, flying at about 160 degrees south, I thought I would clock them because it was such a clear day, and I didn't know where their destination was, but due to the fact that I had Mount St. Helens and Mount Adams to clock them by, I just thought I'd see just how fast they were going, since among pilots we argue about speed so much. And they seemed to flip and flash in the sun just like a mirror. And in fact, I happened to be at an angle from the sun that seemed to hit the tops of these peculiar-looking things in such a way that it almost blinded you when you looked at them through your plexiglass windshield. Well, it was about 1 minute to 3 when I started clocking them on my sweep second-hand clock, and as I kept looking at them, I kept looking for their tails. They didn't have any tails. I thought, well, maybe something's wrong with my eyes, and I turns the plane around and opens the window and looks out the window, and sure enough, I couldn't find any tails on them. And the whole observation of these particular ships didn't last more than about 2.5 minutes, and I could see them only plainly when they seemed to tip their wing or whatever it was, and the sun flashed on them. They looked something like a pie plate that was cut in half with a sort of a convex triangle in the rear. Now, I thought, well, that maybe they're jet planes with just the tails painted green or brown or something, and didn't think too much of it, but kept on watching them. They didn't fly in a conventional formation that's taught in our Army. They seemed to kind of weave in and out right above the mountaintops. And I would say that they even went down into the canyons in several instances, probably 100 feet. But I could see them against the snow, of course, on Mount Rainier, and against the snow on Mount Adams as they were flashing, and against a high ridge that happens to lay in between Mount Rainier and Mount Adams. But when I observed the tail end of the last one passing Mount Adams, and I was at an angle near Mount Rainier from it, but I looked at my watch, and it showed 1 minute and 42 seconds. Well, I still thought, well, that's pretty fast, and I didn't stop to think what the distance was between the two mountains. Well, I landed at Yakima, Washington, and Al Baxter was there to greet me and saw up here. And he told me, I guess I better change my brand. But he kind of gave me a mysterious sort of a look that maybe I had seen something he didn't know. And, well, I just kind of forgot it then till I got down at Pendleton, and I began looking at my map and taking measurements on it. And the best calculation I could figure out, now even in spite of error, would be around 1,200 miles an hour, because making the distance from Mount Rainier to Mount Adams in, we'll say, approximately 2 minutes, it's almost, it'd be around 25 miles per minute. Now, allowing for error, we can give them 3 minutes or 4 minutes to make it, and they're still going more than 800 miles an hour, and to my knowledge, there isn't anything that I read about outside of some of the German rockets that would go that fast. These were flying in more or less a level, constant altitude. They weren't going up and they weren't going down. They were just simply flying straight and level, and I laughed and I told the pilots at Pendleton, I said, they sure must have had a tailwind. But it didn't seem to help me much. But to the best of my knowledge and the best of my description, that is what I actually saw, and like I told the Associated Press, I'd be glad to confirm it with my hands on a Bible, because I did see it. And whether it has anything to do with our Army or our intelligence, or whether it has to do with some foreign country, I don't know. But I did see it, and I did clock it, and I just happened to be in a beautiful position to do it, and it's just as much a mystery to me as it is to everyone else who's been calling me the last 24 hours wondering what it was.
Well, Kenneth, thank you very much. I know that you've certainly been busy these last 24 hours because I've spent some of the time with you myself, and I know that the press associations, both Associated Press and our press, the United Press, has been right after you every minute. The Associated and United Press all over the nation have been after this story. It's been on every newscast over the air and in every newspaper I know of. The United Press in Portland has made several telephone calls here to Pendleton to me and to you this morning, and from New York I understand they're after this story. And we may have an answer for it before night, because if it is some new type of Army or Navy secret missile, there will probably a story come out on it from the Army or Navy saying that it is a new secret plane, and that will be all there is to it, and they will hush up the story, or perhaps that we will finally get a definite answer to it. I understand the United Press is checking on it out of New York now with the Army and also with the Navy, and we hope to have some concrete answer before nightfall. We certainly want to thank you, Kenneth, for coming into our studio. We feel very pleased that this news, which is making nationwide news across the country, we are able to give our listeners over KWRC a first-hand report direct from you of what you saw. And we urge our listeners to keep tuned to this station, because any time this afternoon or this evening and we get something on it on our United Press teletype, which is in direct communications with New York, Chicago, Portland, in fact, every United Press bureau across the nation, why, we'll have it on the air.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're as into UFOs and all that cool disclosure stuff as I am, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. It really helps me keep the good content coming your way on this super fascinating topic. Seriously, I appreciate it so much. Catch you later.